Welcome to the first installment of my video series I'm going to call Cryptid Spotlight, where I'm just going to pick a cryptid and go through its Wikipedia article and see what we can learn from it, and we're going to start with Mothman. So like I said in the last video, I'm going to try this format out and just see how it goes. I'm still wanting to do Cryptid Saturdays, but they don't get the best views, so we're going to see if this does better, and if it doesn't, I'm going to have to try something else. Also, like I said in my last video, guys, I would still like to just do this for a living, so if you guys could help me out by hitting that subscribe button, it would be very greatly appreciated. Mothman in West Virginia folklore is a humanoid creature reportedly seen in the Point Pleasant area from November 15th, 1966 to December 15th, 1967. Despite its name, the original sightings of the creature described avian features. The first newspaper report was published in the Point Pleasant Register, dated November 16th, 1966, titled "Couple Sees Man-Sized Bird Creature" or something. The national press soon picked up the reports and helped spread the story across the United States. The source of the legend is believed to have originated from sightings out of migration sandhill cranes or herons. The creature was introduced to a wider audience by Gray Barker in 1970 and was later popularized by John Keel in his 1975 book, The Mothman Prophecies, claiming that there were paranormal events related to the sightings and the connection to the collapse of the Silver Bridge. The book was later adapted into a 2002 film starring Richard Gere. An annual festival in Point Pleasant is devoted to the Mothman legend. So I've actually heard about this. So they say that they saw Mothman sitting on the bridge, and then after that the bridge collapsed. So they actually started sort of associating Mothman with bad things happening, kind of a bad omen kind of deal, or possibly just warning people of this. And there is some footage out there, and you could probably go find it, but I think if memory serves from me looking at that, it just looked like a large bird sitting on the bridge as opposed to an actual Mothman creature, but I don't know. So now we're going to get into the history. On November 15th, 1966, two young couples from Point Pleasant, Roger and Linda Scarberry and Steve and Mary Mellett, told police they had seen a large black creature whose eyes glowed red standing at the side of the road near the TNT area, the site of a former World War II munitions plant. Linda Scarberry described it as slender, muscular man about 7 feet tall with white wings. However, she was unable to discern its face due to the hypnotic effect of its eyes. Distressed, the witness sped away, reporting that the creature flew after the car, making a screeching sound. It pursued them as far as Point Pleasant city limits. That's actually what makes me believe that this was the sighting of a bird as opposed to an actual thing. In my head, maybe they saw a human and then at the same time had an owl riding the waft of the air brakes from their car, and that's why they heard the screeching sound, because I live out in the country and you hear random noises and owls and screeching all the time. So for somebody who lives in a city that's not used to that, you could kind of put the two things together. Or potentially they just saw a large bird sitting on the side of the road and the eyes shined red, reflecting its eyeline, and they put two and two together. But let's see what the rest of this says. So over the next few days, more people reported similar sightings. After local newspapers covered it, two volunteer firemen who saw it said it was a large bird with red eyes. Mason County Sheriff George Johnson believed the sightings were due to an unusually large heron he termed a shitepoke. Contractor Newell Patriots told Johnson that when he aimed a flashlight at the creature in a nearby field, its eyes glowed like bicycle reflectors. Additionally, he blamed buzzing noises from his television set and the disappearance of his German Shepherd dog on the creature. Wildlife biologist Robert L. Smith at West Virginia University told reporters that descriptions and sightings fit the sandhill crane, a large American crane almost as tall as a man with a 7-foot wingspan and a reddish color around its eyes. The bird may have wandered out of its migration route and therefore was unrecognized at the first because it was not native to this region. And that's basically what I just explained, especially if no one had ever seen it in the region before. And I don't know if I found a video of a sandhill crane. I don't think I did, or sorry, a picture. I don't think I actually did. But they are very large birds, so you can kind of look one up and see where this resemblance might fit in with these descriptions. Following the December 15th, 1967 collapse of the Silver Bridge and the death of 46 people, the incident gave rise to the legend and connected the Mothman sightings to the bridge collapse. According to Georgian newspaper Svandanya Gruiz, I butchered that name, I'm sorry. UFOologists claim that Mothman sightings in Moscow foreshadowed the 1999 Russian apartment bombings. Then The Mothman Prophecies 2002 is a major motion picture loosely based on the 1975 book of the same name by John Keel. In 2016, WCHS-TV published a photo purported to be Mothman taken by an anonymous man while driving on Route 2 in Mason County. Science writer Sharon Hill proposed that the photo showed a bird, perhaps an owl, carrying a frog or a snake, and wrote that there is zero reason to suspect it is the Mothman as described in legend. There are too many far more reasonable explanations. And the beauty of cryptid is like there are always rational explanations, but it is just so much more fun to believe that these creatures are out there because we don't know everything and we find new things. So even if it could potentially just be like the last leg of a species and they disappear, that's also why you don't get a lot of like new cryptids today. It's always like the old cryptids that people just think they're still seeing, because back in the day there was no real way to analyze things and the woods were still like a more mysterious place than they are now. But anyone you go out there and spends a good amount of time in the woods can tell you like there's plenty of just real things that are just as interesting. But there is actually an analysis on here, and I've kind of given you mine, so let's see if mine lines up with any of the analysis that is here on the Wikipedia page. So folklorist Jan Harald Brunvand notes that Mothman has been widely covered in popular press, with some claiming sightings connected with UFO and others suggesting that a military storage site was Mothman's home. Oh, that's the other fun part about it. Mothman could also be a military experiment that escaped. So if that gives you any idea of like the time frame of this. Brunvand notes that the recountings of the 1966 through 67 Mothman reports usually state that at least 100 people saw Mothman, with many more afraid to report the sightings. However, he points out that these written sources for such stories consisted of children's books or sensationalized or undocumented accounts that fail to quote identifiable persons. Brunvand found elements in common among many Mothman reports and much older folk tales, suggesting that something real may have triggered the scares and became woven with existing folklore. He also records anecdotal tales of Mothman supposedly attacking the roofs of parked cars occupied by teenagers. Conversely, Joe Nichols says that a number of hoaxes followed the publicity generated by the original reports, such as a group of construction workers who tied flashlights to helium balloons. Nichols attributes the Mothman stories to sightings of barred owls, suggesting that the Mothman's glowing eyes were actually red eye effect, caused from the reflection of light from flashlights or other bright light sources. Benjamin Radford points out that the only report of glowing red eyes was secondhand, that of Shirley Hensley quoting her father. One of the prevailing hypotheses associated with Mothman at the time of the original sightings was that it was a misidentified sandhill crane, due primarily to the size of the bird as well as the reddish flesh around the crane's eyes. Daniel A. Reed examined the migration patterns and historically reported sightings of sandhill cranes in the area of Point Pleasant, West Virginia, and proposed that in cases where eyeshine was not noted, it was statistically more likely that witnesses were seeing a misidentified great blue heron instead. In 1966, a snowy owl was shot by Ace Henry at Point Pleasant and was described in local newspapers as a giant owl because of its nearly 5 feet wingspan. It's been claimed that it may have been the origin of the Mothman sightings. The bird is still displayed as a mounted specimen in the Mothman Museum. So that's kind of sad. He shot the owl, and it's a snowy owl, and those are beautiful. But that does kind of explain something, something that's not normally seen becoming a cryptid. So I kind of like that. I'm pretty spot on in my original analysis so far, I think, but you guys let me know what you thought of my explanation. So according to University of Chicago psychologist David A. Gallo, 55 sightings of Mothman in Chicago during 2017, published on the website of self-described 4chan researcher Lion Strickler, are a selective sample. Gallo explains that he's not sampling random people and asking if they saw the Mothman. He's just counting the number of people that voluntarily came forward to report a sighting. According to Gallo, people more likely to visit a paranormal-centric website like Strikers might also be more inclined to believe in and therefore witness the existence of a Mothman. Basically, if you believe something's out there, you'll see something. Kind of like people who believe in the Loch Ness Monster can attribute other things to the Loch Ness Monster. And we'll get to Nessie in this, hopefully, if this does well. Some pseudoscience adherts, such as ufologists, paranormal authors, and cryptozoologists, suggest the Mothman could be an alien, a supernatural manifestation, or a previously unknown species of animal. In his 1975 book, Keel claimed that Point Pleasant residents experience precognitions, including premonitions, and the collapse of the Silver Bridge, UFO sightings, visits from inhuman or threatening men in black, and other phenomena. Oh, I forgot that Mothman had, like, Men in Black sightings. So the Men in Black are another very kind of fun thing. It actually spawned the movie series, which you guys are probably more familiar with. Hopefully just the first 3, because the last one didn't do all that well. But it's actually kind of a shame. I love Men in Black, and the fact that that franchise is probably dead now does kind of suck. But anyway, looking past all of that, what's associated with a lot of these sightings and these things coming out are supposedly men that show up in black cars, black suits, wearing black sunglasses, and they do their own kind of investigation like they're some kind of government network. And that's where the myth of the Men in Black comes in, and Mothman was one of the first to actually become associated with the Men in Black in that aspect. So the next bit here is festivals and statues, and clearly, since this was a very famous thing that happened, there are a lot of things, and it's a big local tourism for the town. And it even says right here, Mothman has become a big source of tourism for Point Pleasant, located in the northwestern parts of West Virginia. Point Pleasant held its annual Mothman Festival in 2002. The Mothman Festival began after brainstorming creative ways to attract visitors to Point Pleasant. The group organized the event, chose the Mothman to be their center of the festival due to its uniqueness and as a way to celebrate its local legacy in the town. According to the event organizer, Jeff Wemsley, the average attendance for Mothman Festival is an estimated 10 to 12,000 people per year. A 12-foot tall metallic statue of the creature, created by artist and sculptor Bob Roche, was unveiled in 2003. The Mothman Museum and Research Center opened in 2005. The festival is held on the third weekend of every September, hosting guest speakers, vendors, exhibits, pancake eating contests, and a hayride tour of local notable areas. And then the pop culture continues. While the 1975 book and 2002 film, The Mothman Prophecies, may be the best known media regarding the legend, several low-budget and independently made narrative films and documentary projects have since been released. Small Town Monsters has released 2 documentaries about Mothman, The Mothman of Point Pleasant in 2017, and The Mothman Legacy in 2020. Hylier, a 2019 digital documentary series released on YouTube and Amazon Prime, includes a segment in the second season dedicated to Mothman. The Point Pleasant Tapes is a found footage film co-written and directed by J.P. Pollock, filmed with 1960s period correct cameras in the same West Virginia area of the sightings. The completed film made its festival debut on October 19, 2024. The Mothman appears as the first boss in Trepang, being housed in the Horizons Corporation Pandora Institute. I don't even know what that is. Anyway, due to the popularity of the Batman TV series at the time, the fictional superhero Batman and his rogues gallery were prominently featured in the public eye. While the villain, Killer Moth, did not appear in the show, the comic book influence of both him and the Batman is believed by some to have influenced the coinage of the name Mothman in the local newspapers. And that's the entire Wikipedia article. It definitely makes sense for the people of Point Pleasant to kind of continue this on, because obviously that festival is probably one of their biggest tourism draws and probably one of the busiest times of the year. And you know what, honestly, good on them. There's no reason to like not lean into this. It happened, it was a famous event that happened, and it just kind of keeps the fun going. Now, do I think Mothman is real? Probably not. I'm kind of more in line to agree that it was probably a heron or a big owl, or even maybe, if you want to get a little bit cryptozoological, maybe a species of owl that was larger that we don't know about, and it was kind of like an undiscovered species, but honestly doesn't exist anymore. Seeing as in this day and age with the amount of cameras and stuff, people would have been able to see it by now, and with more people in the woods over the years, something would have came up. It's kind of like the Bigfoot thing. It's like, if somebody says there was a Bigfoot sighting, you can go ahead and ask them, was it blurry and out of focus? Because if it wasn't really Bigfoot. But hey, let me know in the comments down below what you guys think. Do you guys think Mothman is real? Do you guys have your own theories on what Mothman could be? And hey, what other cryptids do you want me to do in this series? Like I said, I'm kind of hoping this one does well, because if it does, it's a better way to keep the series going than what I was doing previously. But let me know that in the comments down below, and I will see you guys next Saturday for Cryptid Saturdays.